Hello, this is Angela Anderson. Thanks for joining me for this acrylic painting tutorial. In this video, I'm going to be showing you how to paint an easy hydrangea. We're going to be keeping it simple, kind of impressionist loose style, and I'll show you step by step how to do it from start to finish. I've got my husband Mark with me.
Hey there, everybody.
He's man in chat for our live show, so you have questions, then you can ask them while I'm painting, and I'll try to answer them. Let's get started. Alrighty, so here's our reference photo. Didn't print out very well, but you can kind of get the idea. It's a heart shape. I thought it was adorable. I love hydrangeas. One of my favorite flowers. Anything blue, any flower, blue flowers. So this will be a really fun one. And hydrangeas are nice because you can really use any colors you have. So if you don't have the same colors that I have, don't worry about it. You can kind of do your own twist on it. I'm going to be using a 9x12 inch Pro Belgian linen canvas from Fredrix. They are a canvas sponsor, so thank you to them for providing our canvas tonight. It's got a nice smooth finish, so it will, the paint goes on nice and smoothly. Go over brushes really quick. I've got a few brushes. I don't know if we'll use them all, but I'm going to show you a few different ways of creating flower petals. So I've got a few brushes that we'll be using for that. So the background, we're just going to use a number 10 bright, and then the number 8 bright, and the number 4 Filbert, number 6 bright for some of the petals. And then I've got a couple of angle shaders here. Never mind. This is not the right one. Oops, I just realized I'm looking at the numbers. It says number 8 on it. 1/4 inch and 3/8 inch angle brushes and a number 2 round. These are the Princeton VelvetTouch, and these are the 6100 series in the long handles. If you look for those, I have a list of all the materials we're using down in the description from the brush guys. These ones are Princeton is our brush sponsor, so thank you to them. All right, let's go over our colors really quick. Quinacridone Magenta, Cadmium, Yellow Medium, Yellow Oxide, Phthalo Green Yellow Shade, Phthalo Blue Green Shade, Light Ultramarine, Ultramarine Blue, Dioxazine Purple, Burnt Sienna, Burnt Umber, Unbleached Titanium, and Titanium White, and this one is just Phthalo, light Phthalo Blue. So it's just this one and this one are basically what they sound like. It's just white plus Phthalo Blue, and this one's white plus Ultramarine. So if you don't have it, you don't have to. I just have them because they're pre-mixed, and it'll make our flowers go on a little easier. So if you want to pre-mix just a little bit of it, you're not going to need a whole lot of it. All right, let's...
Get this show on the road.
Oh no, I'm trying to think if let's go ahead and show you first. So obviously, the only thing you really have to draw is the heart shape on your canvas. So it's pretty easy. But I did kind of to make them look a little bit more like flowers. They're kind of there's like 3 flowers. So there's kind of one here, one down here. That there's just like one blossom that kind of makes that point, but then it kind of comes in and back out and in here. So we can kind of, make it a little bit more realistic that way. And then there's another larger blossom right in here that kind of comes in down around here. So there's basically 3 blossoms that are creating our heart shape. And if we kind of draw it in this way, then we can kind of know where to put in. If you want to, you could even draw in some little circles where you want your main blossoms to go and overlap and that kind of thing. So you're filling up this whole space like that. I think I'm just going to wing it myself, but if you're concerned about it, that would be a way to make it a little simplified. Let me grab my sketchbook here, and really quick, I'm going to show you some different ways of doing petals, because once we're starting, I'm going to go fairly quickly with the petals. So I'm going to show you 3 different ways, at least maybe 4 different ways of doing different petals. And let's go ahead and use a dark color so you can see what I'm doing. All right, so I'm going to grab the Phthalo Blue, and this time I've got the number 6 bright. So one way of doing petals with a bright brush or flat brush is to just rotate. So we're going to, a little bit more water on my brush. We're just going to set the brush down and pivot this outside edge and not move the center. So I'm just kind of turning it and pivoting it. So, and then to make them a little bit more realistic, what we would do is press down a little bit so that it kind of flares out and comes back in. But the basic stroke is going from here to here and leaving this point at the same spot. And so we're just going to press down and then let that brush lift off. And I'm holding my brush right directly above the page when I'm doing this, or above the canvas, so that I can get a straight. If you kind of hold it at an angle, you can't get a crisp edge on this side. So you have to hold it upright in order to get that start and stop point clean. And then if we do it this way, we can use another color on the center part so that we have a dual color. Some of the petals have like pink in the center. So this would be a way of doing that, and just doing it really quickly. This is like a one-stroke technique where you would, complete your flowers in just one petal, or each petal in one stroke each, and have your flowers finished that way. So that's one way of doing it. Another way of doing it with this flat brush is to just kind of pull a petal. So these petals are kind of diamond shape, so you can kind of get away with just pulling them almost like upwards like this, so that the I'm kind of getting crowding in there, but there we go, like that. And you could kind of curve it in a little bit on the edges if you wanted to, but you could kind of get a similar look, and these petals do have that kind of shape to them. So all you would do in that case is just basically like this. You would just kind of pull little edges and be overlapping them, and you'd get these kind of square-shaped edges. And depending on how much you if you turned your brush a little bit, or if you pressed down a little bit differently, you might be able to get a little bit more of a curve to it. And then another way, and this would be with the larger flat, but I can show you with this one, is to push down right on this tip. So you're just going to press down and lift, and you're going to get little petals that way. And you really need a bigger brush than this one to get the size petals that we need, but they're good for like smaller flowers. And that's all we're doing is just plopping down that corner of the brush, and it's creating these flower petal shapes. And I use that a lot when I'm doing the Impressionist style paintings. And like I said, it works better if you've got a little bit bigger brush, because you'll get a bigger area of spread. All right, let's go ahead and with the Filbert brush. And this may not be new to you, but I just thought it would be a good one to kind of go over some of this. This one is called a leaf stroke, and so using a Filbert brush for this petal, since the edges are rounded, it works best. You're going to set it down here and end here. So we're turning it one on its end, and then you can layer them. And it's easier if you actually turn your page so that each petal is pointing towards the center. You get a little bit easier time of it doing it that way. But they make nice petals. And that's called a leaf stroke. You can also use the Filbert the same way as the flat, and just press down on the edge. And you've probably seen me do leaves that way, because I do. Sometimes I'll do these long leaf shapes where I'll, do like that. And that's by setting it down on its flat edge, right on that corner. All right, and then with an angle brush, basically the same thing as this, but I find that angle brushes are a little bit easier to use than the chisel brushes, because you can hold it a little bit more naturally, and you can make that turn a little bit easier. So this is probably the brush that I will be using for most of the petals tonight, because it just makes these kind of things a little bit easier. The edges are a little cleaner sometimes. You don't have to be as careful, since that brush is already kind of angled at the right angle, and you can kind of hold it a little bit more normally. You don't have to hold it upright so stiffly. You're just wanting to let that brush kind of do the work for you, and you're just turning it. And again, it's going to be easier if I turn the canvas as I do each brush stroke, each petal. And this one is the same. You're turning from here to here. So you're just setting it down, pressing down. The harder you press, the bigger your petal's going to be. Up here, the higher it'll be. So you can do them really small by barely, pressing down, or you can do them quite large by pressing down and kind of pulling. All right. So I think that was all of them. So let's get started. Flower. So I'm going to start with the large brush just to do the background. And I'm going to go ahead and grab that phthalo blue.
When you say large, what do you mean?
It's number 10 bright.
Number 10 bright.
Yes.
That is some blue water.
It's very blue now. It's awesome.
I need some kind of emojis that I can just kind of put over the top of that water. Look like there's something in there. Like shark fins or something.
Yeah.
Swimming in it.
All right, I'm going to make kind of a teal blue here. I've got a little bit of the green, a little bit of phthalo blue, or a lot of phthalo blue, and a little bit of the burnt umber. That'll be good. I'm going to do a little bit of ultramarine blue in here too. And I'm just going to dab it in. All around our flower, and I'm deliberately going overlapping those edges so that we have some of this color going in our flowers, and we can overlap the flowers on top of it. And I'm just changing the direction of my brush strokes every now and then so that they're kind of creating this kind of wispy look. You could really do anything you wanted with this background. You could do it in color. You don't have to do it this dark blue if you wanted to do it. Even white would be pretty, whatever, gray, whatever color floats your boat. It's pretty much simplified back here. I'm not doing them a whole lot with it, so. But I would suggest using a color that's in the rest of your flowers or in the rest of your painting. I wouldn't do, when you're choosing your background color, I would not choose a color that's like not in the rest of the painting. That can be a little jarring. So choosing a color that's a mixture of some of the other colors that you're going to be using in your painting is always a good idea for background. Grab some of that, more of that phthalo blue, ultramarine, and just kind of turning and dabbing my brush so that I'm creating these little, I'm not really pulling it this time, I'm mostly just dabbing it. Sometimes I do those kind of X strokes where I'm kind of pulling the brush, but this time I'm really just kind of dabbing that corner of the brush almost to create these kind of dabbed look. Kind of leafy look. It looks sort of like leaves maybe. I don't know. That may just be me.
Well, we want to take the opportunity to say hi to everybody.
Yeah.
That's joined us this evening. Welcome to the show.
Very happy to have you join us.
And if you're in the future watching it recorded, welcome to you also.
Welcome to the future.
Or welcome to the past.
Right, that's true. That would make more sense. Okay, I'm going to use the corner of the brush here and just dab in a little bit of this color, kind of like peeking through some of these petals here, just some random shapes. All right. Let's grab some green. I'm going to do a little bit of green like the same way. And I think I'm going to use some of that green in our background here and there, if we can catch it while it's still wet. I don't know if I love that. There is kind of a leaf over here, so I do a little bit more over there. I don't know, we'll see.
We have a question coming in from Australia.
Okay.
They would like to know, do you know or recommend of a canvas pad that they can buy that is smooth?
canvas pad, I'm not sure. I use, these ones are the Canson XL mixed media. I find the mixed media pads work really well with acrylics. I don't tend to like the acrylic pads because they kind of are waxy. I also like the Strathmore mixed media visual journals. So those are the two brands that I like. All right.
Good answer.
Thanks. I think I'm gonna start with this brush. We'll see how it goes. And I don't want to leave my big brush in the water because it will crack the handle. I'm gonna set that aside and make sure that it stays moist while I'm painting so that it doesn't dry out with the paint inside there.
And then when you crack the handle, then we have to answer questions of
why is there tape on my handle?
What's on your brush? And it's very complicated, our lives.
It is. Not on purpose. Can assure you. All right, so I've mixed up some phthalo blue, a little tiny bit of purple, and it's kind of a medium blue color, a little bit light on the light side. I've added white to it, and I'm going to start kind of laying in some petals around the outside here, just some dark petals, and this will be kind of our underlayer on this side of the flower because this side is kind of more blue. So I'm just kind of turning my brush and dabbing, not really being super careful about, you know, placing these petals. Like I was showing you kind of, you know, what I do, but really I'm kind of just plopping the brush down for these, and it's working. Okay, let's grab a little bit more white. And I'm going to start doing a few, there we go, more deliberate.
Can you start making this look a little bit more difficult, please?
Okay.
Thank you. People are complaining it looks like
looks too easy.
You're making it look too easy.
Okay.
Can you?
This one is really pretty easy. I really feel like it is. If you just kind of follow the steps, it's not a difficult painting. Maybe
if you grunt and sigh a lot.
I've done that for some paintings. Mm-hmm. There's been a few.
I also need a bleeping beep, you know, to bleep out stuff.
Bleep out when I get really frustrated.
Mm-hmm. Even if it's not like for anything bad that you're saying, it just makes it
seem like you were. Saying.
Exactly.
Okay, grabbed a little bit of purple and some unbleached titanium. I still have this blue in here, and I'm going to do this side with some of this color. And overlap, and I want to start with kind of a medium to dark color. A little bit lighter than the background, but still fairly dark. So we want to have plenty of room for our values to get lighter. If we go too light too quickly, we won't have any depth in our flowers. So just need to have a little bit of dark, sort of medium dark. Here, let's grab some of the light ultramarine. Do some of that down here. That's pretty similar to what I just did. And I'm really paying attention to these outside petals here, trying to create some shapes that look like petals along those edges, along those borders. That will really help us later when we're painting in the rest of the highlights and things. Okay. Grab some more of that unbleached titanium. And the unbleached titanium has a little bit of yellowish tone to it, so mixed with this purple will kind of neutralize the color, give it a really interesting look. All right, so there we go. We've got our start, right? Mostly covered. I think I do want to go back in and just kind of make sure that I've got all of these little bits covered. I think I'm going to use the phthalo blue and phthalo green to create a teal. I'm going to go in here and just kind of add this color in between any of these white spots that I'm seeing. And you may not need to do this if you've covered up your whole thing, but you might want to go in and do this anyways. Just make sure, especially if you've covered up all your little green spots. Okay, there we go. I'm going to grab some more of that unbleached titanium and add that there. Okay, so just making sure I have the whole thing kind of covered. I don't really like this background. I have to think of something else to do to it. Maybe darken it up. Alrighty. This brush seems to be working out pretty good for me, so I think I might just stick with it. So I'm going to grab some of the light phthalo blue. And now I'm going to really be deliberate about where I'm putting these petals. So I'm going to look at my reference photo and kind of see where I've got some of these petals happening. I may have to have you dry this because it's kind of getting sticky on me. We'll see.
Okay, I'll be on standby.
Thanks. So I'm kind of trying to make it look like some of these are overlapping each other. So I'll go right up next to another petal. Or another flower and just kind of put in just a few. These ones on the edge are kind of pointing away from us, so we're only seeing kind of the outside edge or sometimes just the like a straight line. So some of these we're gonna want to have like little lines instead of the flower facing us. And I don't want to overthink it too much because it's kind of gets a little bit fussy if you kind of think too much about where every exact little thing is going. So I'm going to try to kind of keep it sort of loose as I work. I added a little bit of Dioxazine, or I'm sorry, Quinacridone Magenta here.
Oh, they would like to know, are you keeping the paint quite thick for the flowers?
Yes. Yes, they're thick. Yeah, that's really important. Good question. Yeah, you really need it kind of...
Well, it wasn't for me. So.
Well,
I'm just repeating it.
Okay.
I'll get all the credit, but that's okay.
Okay. Okay. As I get closer to this side, I'm going to go more pink. These are actually going to be kind of yellow-ish. So yeah, this is kind of, it's picking up the color underneath, so I do need to have this dried, I think. This is just kind of pushing the color around a little bit.
Get out of my way. I'll be there. I'm here first.
Well, I might be able to work on this background.
You want me to put the fan over your shoulder to blow on it? Like that?
Yeah, go ahead. It'll kind of speed up the drawing on that. I think I can.
Engineer problems.
Yeah.
How do I solve these?
All right, so I'm making a dark teal with the phthalo blue and burnt sienna. And more on the blue side than the burnt sienna side. I think that'll. And I'm going to use that over the top of this. Yeah, I think that's pretty good. I'm going to use that over the top of this background area here. And I could glaze it if I wanted to, or I could use a sponge brush or not a sponge brush. What?
And that is just blowing into the mic.
Oh, is it making noises? It's like, shh. Nice. Okay. So no, not that. That's a no on that. Good try. That's awesome.
Maybe if I turn it back here.
Yeah.
Circulating some.
It'll still reach me. It just maybe not hit the mic as.
Sounded like we were at the ocean outside.
Did it? That's awesome.
Or heavy breathing.
Heavy breathing. It sounds like when I was using that lav mic, it was like it sounded like Darth Vader on my older videos.
I did that once on YouTube Live. You know, I was streaming on not YouTube Live, Facebook Live.
Uh-huh.
I was like streaming just before one of your shows or something, and I had the lavalier mic.
Yeah, it does.
And I was trying to be real quiet, but I was like freaking everybody out.
No, it does. It's really creepy. I don't know how we lasted so long with that mic. Adding some of this really dark here in places so that it pushes those petals back. Give us some depth.
It's like, what you doing over there? It's creepy. I'm watching you.
Okay, we get it. It's all right.
That was a reenactment.
It's all right. I don't need it. I got it the first time.
You got it? Okay. I'll make
Thanks.
sure. Relive the moment.
Creepy old guy. I don't need that. It's all right. All right, this is doing better. I think I needed the darker color. I am letting some of that original color show through here and there. This will just kind of darken it up, give it even more interest back here. And it also, if you've got any little white spots, sometimes you'll have the little white spots in your canvas, depending on the kind of canvas you're using. That'll help cover it. Okay, I like that better. Okay, move back is what you're saying. All right, let's try the Filbert brush here. We'll see how this does. Using the Unbleached Titanium, or the Quinacridone, light ultramarine with some Unbleached Titanium here. There we go. back over that edge now that I did that dark border. So just kind of help touch up that edge a little bit. Am I staying on camera there?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Unless you're painting off the canvas, then no.
Okay.
You're off camera.
All right. Since some ultramarine blue added to that, so it's a little bit darker version of the light ultramarine. Adding some around the edges here. This is a kind of a purpley color, so it'll recede a little bit for us toward the background. So we can use it along our edges here. And use a few inside as well. Right. Use some more of that phthalo blue. Some of that over here. All right, that's good. So let's start. Grab some white. Grab a little bit of that light ultramarine. Starting with white just makes it easier to mix up one of these really light colors. If you start with the blue and try to go lighter, it can be difficult because these blues can be really highly pigmented, so it's just usually easier to start with white. All right, so I'm going to, there we go, create some dark, nice bright petals just in a few areas here. Overlapping what we've already got going on. Pulling out some petals that try not to cover everything up because I want to have some depth here, so I want to leave, you know, some of these under petals showing. So I'm being really careful about where I'm placing these brighter petals because they will draw the eye, so you don't want to overwhelm it. Bunch of these. I think that's about all I'm going to do right there. And if you get too many, or you know, they're like do kind of take over, what we can do is kind of glaze back over them later. So don't worry too much if you do kind of get a little overboard with this. And
can you give us a brush update?
This is the Filbert, the for number 4, Filbert. Okay, I'm just going to kind of do a few like side petals here. Here we go. Okay, really pretty. Let's grab some pink now and use the Unbleached Titanium. A little little bit of the yellow oxide to create kind of a neutral color, like a almost a peachy pink. And then I kind of push that off so that I can get more of this unbleached titanium here. There we go. More white. Okay, that'll be pretty for a few of these. I'm not going to use this color too much because it's not in a lot of the petals, but I do see it in a few places. So I'm really kind of just setting my brush down and flicking it towards the center kind of more randomly than I showed you before. I'm kind of keeping it a little bit looser. And I want to go a little bit darker in a few places, so I'm going to grab some of that light ultramarine blue and add it to this color. So there's kind of a few of them that are a little bit darker. There's a really big one right here. Kind of dominates that bottom edge. It's pretty bright, so I'm going to get some white here. There we go. A little bit more of that unbleached or light ultramarine. I always want to call it unbleached titanium for some reason.
Got a question for you.
Okay.
What is the difference between the whites that you are using?
The unbleached titanium just is more warm. It's got some yellow tones to it, so it creates a warmer mix, you know, when you use it. The white will create kind of a cooler, it'll kind of cool down your colors, and this color will warm them up. Okay, so kind of creating a transition between the blue, pinks, working up to these kind of more warm colored petals here. Don't want to get them too crowded, but they are overlapping quite a bit. So, all right, so up in here, let's use this light phthalo and some of the light ultramarine. I'm going to mix the two together. And we'll start up here. Create some petals. If you kind of do them flat, they kind of look like they're pointing upward.
So just want to remind everybody, or if you're new, first time, first of all, if you're new, hopefully you subscribe to the channel and give it a thumbs up. Like
Glad
the
to have
video.
you.
Yeah, it's great to have you with us, and check out the hundreds of other tutorials Angela has added, like the 300 and some on her flowers. There's one truck. one tractor.
The rest are all flowers.
But those also have flowers in them somehow. I don't know, but okay.
They're in flowered fields, so you had to have flowers.
Right. Right. But if you click the show more below your video, there's the list of all the materials she's using, the size canvas, the paints. There's links to the Amazon to buy art supplies that she uses, also links in the brush guides for the brushes. And if you use a code AngelaFineArt, you get 5% off. And then, of course, all the social media stuff down yonder.
Exactly. Okay, grabbing that ultramarine blue here. I kind of feel like I got those little two like matchy-matchy right here. So I'm going to try to... There we go. Let's get some of this yellow. I'm going to add a little bit of purple to it. Kind of create a neutral purpley pink or purpley yellow. I don't know, that might not be the color I'm looking for. Might be a little too dark, too muddy. Kind of wanted a yellowy. Let's add a little bit of that pink to it. Yeah. Sorry. Just trying to get the right color. I'm seeing kind of a yellow in these petals, but I don't want it to be like bright yellow. So let's go ahead and try with some cadmium. We'll start with cadmium. Yellow medium. Add white. And add that light ultramarine or light unbleached titanium there. A little bit of that light ultramarine and more white here. Okay. The ultramarine will tone it down. You don't want to add too much of it because it will turn it green. We don't want green. But it does have just enough of that purple in it that it's doing kind of what I would want the purple to do, but it was too bright. Okay, yeah, that's good. That's the color. All right. And I'm going to use this pretty sparingly because it's pretty overpowering. So I really want to be careful about where I place these petals. But I can overlap these other ones that I've already done now that I've got them sort of dry. Yep, this is good. Okay. Just make sure you don't add too much ultramarine blue to it. But that was cadmium with a little bit of white and with the unbleached titanium and a tiny bit of the ultramarine blue, light ultramarine blue, which has white in it. So basically white. All right. There we go. Okay, let's use a little bit. I'm going to clean that out. I'm going to get a little bit of fresh paint. There, use a little bit of it down here on the tips of some of these. Just a little bit over the top of what we already got going on to kind of brighten up some of the tips there. Pull them forward. Let's do some over here. I'm just kind of touching the tips and kind of pulling towards the center, but I'm not pressing down very hard here. This will get just a little color on the tip of the flower petal. There we go. All right, so let's grab some white. And grab some purple. And I want this nice and bright. Lots of white. Put out some fresh color. All right, so now we're just going to kind of look and highlight, touch up. We're going to let this dry while we're doing this. But I want to add some streaks of phthalo blue here and there. So I'm going to use this phthalo blue and kind of pull. I don't like that. Okay, that's better. Just have a little bit of it on my brush with this light phthalo blue. And we're just going to highlight a few petals here. Grab some white. Almost pure white here, just to really highlight the tips of some of these flowers. Pulling those flower petals forward. I'm using a little bit darker blue there for some of them. This is the phthalo blue light. And I don't want to lighten everything up because then it'll look flat. So I want to leave these little pockets of dark in here. If I don't do that, then it will kind of all start to look flat. And I don't want that. So I'm going to use the phthalo blue over here. I'll highlight a few of these petals. Grab a little bit more of that phthalo blue, go a little bit darker. Add some of the darker phthalo in between some of these. You may not need to if you've, you know, I'm just seeing what that I want to add a little of this color in here. If you don't need it, you don't have to add it there. At this point, you're going to kind of, your painting's going to look a lot different than mine. You know, everybody's, if I did this 3 times, I would have 3 different, you know, totally different paintings. This is kind of this kind of technique. You just kind of end up having really individual, you know, brush strokes. It's a really great expressive type of painting. I love this for beginners because it doesn't have to look, you know, any particular way, really. This is your flower. It's going to look different than mine. So just kind of embrace that fact and, you know, go with what you feel like you want to do with your painting. So, and don't feel like it has to look exactly like mine to be right, because it doesn't. This is one of those fun ones that you really can get creative with, express yourself, have some fun, take the pressure off. What's the worst thing can happen? You just paint over it and start again. You know, it's just paint. So kind of take a deep breath, just and try to enjoy this. I know for some people this kind of painting is super stressful because they want it to, you know, they want it something that's going to, you know, be a very, do this, this, and this, you know, and start to finish. But this is not one of those kind of paintings. This is definitely one that's going to be individual to each person.
You want to help me find your hydrangea painting?
It should be in the basket, I think.
In the basket.
Uh-huh.
Here? Mm-hmm. Okay. I'll look.
Okay. I think it's in there. It's small. It's on an 8-inch by 8-inch canvas, so it's not very big. Okay, I got a little happy with that yellow pink there. Yeah, so this is the controlled version. Super.
That was like, what, 6-8 hours?
Something like that. Yeah, it took a long time. So that was two long bonus videos. So those are that's, if you're interested in that version, that's the $5 level. You can get to that painting. It's available on Patreon. So yeah, if this kind of painting drives you crazy and you just need to have, you know, more of control on, you know, where the color's going, then that's the painting for you, because it's very step-by-step. We painted each individual petal, you know, as we went. All right, adding a little bit of pink to some of these petals, just kind of dabbing in the centers of them. Okay. I don't like that brush. It's not really doing it for me. So I'm going to go back to the Filbert here. I'm going to grab my white, a little bit of that yellow. I've got a little bit of blue, light phthalo blue on my brush too. I'm going to dab over some of that pink. Just kind of tone it down. Adding that blue in there will kind of help those petals too. Kind of tone them down a little bit. Okay, give them some white here. white, phthalo blue, light ultramarine here. It's just a very light version of all of the blues. I'm going to do one last kind of pass with this blue color.
Okay, well, you're just focusing and concentrating there.
Yeah.
Time to talk about Patreon.
I thought you already did.
No, we just showed the video or the painting.
Oh, okay.
So patreon.com is a way to / Angela Fine Art is a way to support Angela. I mean, all these videos on YouTube are free, no cost to you. But she does do traceables for these paintings, and she takes this painting, makes a picture of it, then does a traceable, and then posts it on there. And all the traceables going back to February 2017 are available at the $1 level. Then the $5 level gives you the traceables plus access to a monthly bonus video that's exclusive to the Patreon people. And we just showed the hydrangea one that she did that was realistic. That was over 2 shows. Mm-hmm. But it also unlocks all the bonus videos that she has there. And then the $10 level is all of that plus access to a special Facebook group where she does another tutorial on there, which usually takes 3 or 4 weeks. And also runs...
start on a blue iris.
Ooh, a flower?
If you go to the community tab on my channel page, like at the top, there's a community tab. It shows all of the bonus videos, all the bonus video, and we're doing a dolphin this month.
Oh, cool.
Like a realistic dolphin, and then the $10 level is doing the
iris.
Blue iris, realistic style. I expect it to be about 4 hours or so, at least, maybe 5, that we'll do all month long in that group for patrons. So it's a lot of fun in there. Smaller, more intimate, get to know the ladies in there. Mm-hmm. All right, mixing up some teal here. Using green, phthalo green and phthalo blue. Added a little bit of white, but I'm just going to, it needs more white. There we go. Use those colors and dab in the centers of some of these flowers. And not all of them are going to be visible, but the ones that are obvious, just dab in a little bit of this color. And the ones that are in the darker areas, you can kind of do a little bit darker, and the lighter ones, you can add a little bit more white to your teal, but okay, there we go. And then I can go back in. You could add, might add a little bit of the white with the Oxide. You can add a little highlight to some of those if you need to. Do light teal too if you wanted to, but I wanted a little bit of yellow in there. There we go. And then I want to do a little bit of a leaf over here, so I think I'm going to put it down here. Use the turquoise there. A little bit of phthalo green with that turquoise color. Probably should have done this first. I'm going to get up close to that.
I've never mentioned this before, but for the $5 Patreon level, they also get a big air hug. That is pretty cool.
Shut up.
Right there.
All right, I can take that off if you think it's cheesy.
No, I love it. I really do. It's just a simple way to express how much we appreciate.
I know.
All of the incredible support that she receives. So that's just no, and that's true, and that's for anything. So
yeah, and I mean
that's why we're doing this for free, because we've been there before,
and we appreciate anybody who just kind of hangs out and watches with us, and we're really happy to. The whole reason I started this channel is because I had a frustrating time when I was learning to paint, and I wanted to help others not have those problems. All right, so I added a little bit of that dark turquoise color, and then I just kind of pulled from the center in towards the middle there, leaving that kind of dark middle. And you could do a couple more if you wanted to, but I think that one is probably enough. I feel like now that it's somewhat dry, I want to just do one last thing on here, and that is to glaze a little bit. So I'm going to use the Ultramarine Blue, some water. Use glazing liquid if you have it. And I'm going to go in here and just kind of glaze over just a few of these petals that I feel like, you know, maybe could use a little bit of shadowing. Because when you get going with these petals, they can all kind of start to look the same after a while. So this layer can help push some of those back. Like I said, if you got them a little bit too light, you know, if you did some petals and they kind of feel like they're a little too bright in places, you can some of this. These are wanting to not be fully dry, so I need to be careful. Grab a little bit more of that light color. I don't want to cover up all of the light on all of these, so I'm going to go back in here and just touch up the bright along the outside edges, but I wanted to darken up the centers, a couple of those. Let's use some of the phthalo blue with the I have a brush in there. That's not good. Yeah, let's use that Phthalo blue. With some water, if I can find a spot on my palette. And go along the edge here and just kind of...
Remember when you just use a styrofoam plate?
I know. We've come a long way.
Yep. You got twice the room and you still completely fill it. We could make it 16 times that big and you'd still fill it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Okay. See how that's doing? It's kind of pushing them back. Gives it a little bit more realism, too. Even though this is kind of an Impressionist painting, we can still kind of pump up the realism. It softens that, kind of softens some of these harsher colors. I think that's good. All right, I'm happy with that. What do you think? We need brighter color? Do we need another layer of highlights? Or are we good? Kind of feel like we could probably do a few more highlights on there, but I don't want to overdo it. Get some white and we'll just kind of...
If you're new to the channel, you'll realize that Angela's not actually talking to me. She just asks and then does whatever the heck she feels like. Because she knows I have like zero art intelligence. So.
Well, it's asking the audience in general.
Oh, the audience? Oh, okay.
I didn't know if they were answering back to you.
More highlights, beautiful painting.
Yeah, just a few little highlights here. There we go. This is white, so it's going to use it sparingly. It's going to really dominate whatever you put it on. Oh, that's pretty. Yeah, we needed some more highlights. Much better. I'll just kind of finish a painting like this and then I'll set it down and look at it for a day or two and then come back to it. Because a lot of times these colors, especially white, when you're, layering it like this, sometimes it will absorb kind of the undercolors and darken up. A lot of the colors will darken as they dry, and that's just because the binders in them have a little bit of whiteness to them. And so when those evaporate off, you're left with the pure pigment, and that's obviously going to be darker than the binder that holds the paint together. So that's why they darken. And so sometimes you'll want to go back in and maybe add another layer of bright color to your painting afterwards. But usually you kind of have to let it set for overnight before it'll fully change. If you're using the heavy body acrylics. If you're using the cheaper acrylics, they don't have as much of a shift. All right, I'm going to call that good. That was fun. Not too hard. About an hour painting. Hope you try it and give it to your Valentine. There you go. We got some super chats. Yay. I'm going to sign it while you're doing that.
Man, you caught me off guard.
You weren't ready? Like
no, nobody expects the end of the video.
Especially not you.
Well, you usually just go on. Oh, well, wait a minute. I'm done.
I know.
Almost done.
One more time.
No, almost wait. No.
One more thing.
Alrighty. So tonight we had a bunch of people join us and from
fun.
all over the world. So thanks for joining us this evening. And out of all the chats, of course, we had 2 super chatters. The first one was from Maureen, and she says, "Always love your tutorials, Angela.
Oh.
And the way you and Mark make it so much fun."
Thank you, Maureen.
Thanks, Maureen. And then Jackie says, Hi, I've been watching, learning, enjoying, laughing with you all since last year.
Oh,
I've learned so much about art and painting. Thank you so much, Angela Mark.
yay. Thank you.
That's great.
That's what it's all about.
And that really is. I mean, that is something that we get to experience you on your art journey, going from timid and shy and, hesitant to share your paintings on Facebook with others to really blooming and just taking off. So it's incredible for us to see that.
Very cool. Very cool. All right, guys. Hope you try this. This was a fun one.
What are we painting Saturday?
We are painting a hammock seascape, and it was voted #1 in my group last month. So we got a lot of people that have been waiting a while for it.
With beach chairs?
No beach chairs, just a hammock.
Beach chairs, okay.
Just a hammock with a tree and some water.
All right, good.
So yeah, it'll be fun. I think it'll be a long one, so you may strap in there.
I'll bring some extra food. And
there you go. Bring a snack.
My painting survival gear.
Yeah, exactly. All right, guys. Hope to see you then. Thanks. We'll see you next time. Bye.